Hello and welcome to North 100, a Canadian Highlander podcast. My name is Serge. Joining me today, I got a Nelly.
Hey, that's me.
We got a Wheeler.
I forgot my glasses, but I have 2 drinks.
And joining us today on tech, we have a Paul.
Hello.
A reminder that everything we do here is brought to you by you with your support of the Patreon over at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. And exciting new sponsor alert. Well, I mean, an old sponsor, a good sponsor. This podcast is now sponsored by our friends at Card Kingdom. cardkingdom.com/LRR. If there's any sweet singles that you see in the set review that you want to pick up, go check them out and use our affiliate link. Welcome to part 1 of our Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy set review. A reminder that our set reviews are not exhaustive. We do not talk about every single card, just the cards that we think are going to make a splash. And there's a lot to go through. We've got the main set, we've got the Commander product, the main set and the Commander product. We're going to be covering white, blue, black, and red today. And before we begin, Wheeler would like to manage some expectations.
Hey, everybody. Wheeler here. We all had a blast playing Final Fantasy as children, didn't we?
Oh, boy.
And some of us have continued playing these games up into our adulthood.
Sure have.
That means there's a certain emotional attachment and resonance with this IP that draws people to this game. We are about to say words about cards, and some of those words may be rude. Those words are going to be, ideally critical. Not rude for the sake of being rude. Just rude because we are trying to evaluate these cards in a more competitive sense than something like Commander, or whether or not your sweet baby boy got their anime hair captured elegantly in the artwork. Please do not take any of this personally. This is all a criticism of the cards and how they function, and not the characters.
God, that's so smart.
Yeah, I've been doing this, and it's honestly a big...
Yeah, people are coming at you and be like, how dare you say that about my boy Cloud? And you're like, I'm talking about a magic card.
It's a magic card. They're not real.
That's valid. I mean, speaking of magic cards, Nelly, start us off.
Let me tell you about Aerith Gainsborough, 2 and a white for a legendary human cleric with lifelink, and whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on Aerith, and when Aerith dies, put X +1/+1 counters on each legendary creature you control, where X is the number of +1/+1 counters on Aerith. Okay, so a Legendary Matters card, not something we typically talk about in Canadian Highlander, but, we do talk about ruining your evenings a fair bit, and this only costs 3 mana, so it gets brought back by all the things that can bring back a 3 or less. It also only has 2 power in the graveyard, so again, another condition on some of the cards that reanimate. Otherwise, we have, for only 1 more mana, essentially a Johnny's Pridemate with lifelink. Lifelink is good, and a Johnny's Pridemate is... turns out it's a weird... It's still, even 10 years later, trying to process this. A Johnny's Pridemate is kind of good. So, yeah, you've got a card that grows automatically, grows when it attacks, grows when your other things are draining the opponent for 1. And, yes, it gets wrecked by Caracas.
Oh, my God.
I actually have coined a term for this set because... part of the disclaimer.
Sure.
There are a lot of legends that people are near, they love, and I'm like, that's cool. This thing gets bounced by Caracas and dies to Bolt and doesn't do a damn thing about it. I've been calling them Baracused.
Bolt Caracas?
Yeah, they get it just gets Baracus.
Baracused about?
Yeah.
Interesting.
But for
Baracus.
for not this is going to get really weird when they have a Universes Beyond A team. But for Aerith though,
yeah,
I think that's fine if this card gets Baracused, because first off, it does have a death trigger, so there's a chance that it can put counters on something, even if it's just a 3/3. And white and green are more okay with the Baracused legends, I guess, than other color combos. You have the fast mana, you have the mana, mana acceleration from dorks. Also, your point spreads are usually just spent on jewelry. This, for what it's worth, though, a Johnny's Pridemate deck, I played this recently, in the past couple of months. Shockingly real.
Yeah.
Because it used to be your deck was I have really bad Soul Wardens, and then I have a Johnny's Pride Mates, and then I have other really bad
You might have like
cards.
Heliod combo or something like
Now
that,
for
right?
Yeah.
there's one that like draws you cards and flies.
Well, Guide of Souls, Ocelot Pride, like I'm a bunch of Modern Horizons 3 cards, basically. Also just happen to gain life, or even Orcish Bowmasters. It's like, oh, this card makes
white
2
and black,
bodies and triggers Soul Wardens twice. Yeah. Very real.
So people have messaged me about this specifically for food as sort of a payoff to try and make that deck a little bit more real. And my problem with that deck is it doesn't feel like it needs another 3-mana legendary creature, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But
No, it needs 60 more 3-mana legendary creatures.
I'd say go all in.
Or 10.
yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. You're like, just flood the board. Oh, we've talked about Nile Legends before.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I just want to mention that we said earlier, do we care about legendary creatures? I think there's one deck, but I don't know if it needs this card.
If you're playing Bard class, I think you should probably consider this because it might be part of some infinite damage combo.
There are a couple of builds of like White X aggro that are like on Yoshimaru and Mary and some of the other like aggressive cards that do care about legends.
Actually, sorry. Just on that note, if your deck contains an infinite life combo, you can include this, and then next to a sack outlet and another legendary creature. I know that's like 3 more cards possibly on top of your infinite life combo. So I'm not saying like please mainline this. It's important new meta, but I know many of you like to play creature combo decks, and so it's possible all of those other things I just mentioned are already there, along with like 20 tutors. So it might be a consideration.
There is kind of a niche loop involving this and loyal retainers,
right?
That you can like set up where like if this is dying and loyal retainers is returning this, then you
still
can
have
put
to put
infinite
a counter on it
counters
first, though.
Yeah, you involve there's a Soul Warden in play.
Yeah. Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
These green creature combo decks, they just have so much crap already.
Yeah, that. I wouldn't have mentioned it if I hadn't within the last 12 months like piloted a deck where it's just like, oh, all this crap that like it's like a 5-card combo, but it's like 5 cards that are already 3 different versions of the same card in your deck.
One of these Agatha's Soul Cauldron shells.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. From the Commander product, we have Sid, free flyer pilot. I suppose we should put another disclaimer in, which is we're gonna look. I know I realize I got like an actual English word wrong, which is free flyer, but there might be some mispronunciations, and I apologize.
But that's not our fault because the names in this game, 1, are terrible. 2, that's a personal attack. You can take that. And 2, it's riddled with translation errors.
Not only that, some of the earlier games they were never said out loud.
Yeah.
Right? You just read this word, and then people are going to be like, it's pronounced Titus. And you're like, brother, that game wasn't voice acted, all right? Mm-hmm. It's an ocean character. It's Titus. I'm going to get roasted for that one.
Anyway, no, I mean,
it's not cyan.
You're going to
cyan.
That's an English word that you can't pronounce.
Yeah. Don't worry about it, dude. Don't worry. I know.
I'm worried.
Yeah.
Well,
next, you're gonna tell me the dude's son was OAN or something.
Oh, I have some bad news.
Oh man, you made Nellen hit the e-brake on that one there.
Don't worry. We haven't included Brombo, or any of the Italian e-boys in this.
All right. Well, anyway, Sid is a 2-mana 2/2 legendary human warrior pilot from the Commander product. Equipment and vehicle spells you cast 1 less to cast. Jump. During your turn, Sid has flying, which is funny because this is not the only character who has the jump ability. Mm-hmm. I digress. And then 2 untap, return target equipment or vehicle card from the graveyard to your hand. I like this card. And you're going to guess it's probably because it has the word equipment printed on it. And the answer to that is yes. It's just a nice niche little role player. Also, the fact that it has flying on your turn means it gives you the opportunity to actually attack fairly freely to get some equipment triggers on whatever it is that you're running in your kit these days. A little bit less important than when everyone was running GT or the swords, because those really made the difference maker from combat damage triggers, but still it's nice to get damage in. And a little bit of late game redundancy of being able to bring back your Corey Steel Cutter or something else that gets dealt with is quite nice. The deck a lot of these equipment decks are pretty flush with strong 2-mana threats, so I could see it getting cut. But if you want to go all in on a high density I'm talking more about equipment. I don't think if there's a really strong like vehicles matters deck in the format, but who knows? Maybe if you're playing Looter Scooter.
Stop harshing my dwarf mellow over here.
They literally
Paul
released
and I go
vehicles the set.
That's true.
And how many vehicle
Yeah.
decks have you ran into?
I built a Death Shadow deck after that set came out.
Yeah. So that's my evaluation. Anybody else have anything else to add?
Obviously, like, definitely included if you're on any kind of Hammer Time build, right? Like, I think, you've tended more
your
towards...
hammer can cost 0 instead of 1.
Well, it's just, I think those decks, because they're, like, aiming to cheat on mana, they tend to include some of the equipments that spend a lot of mana. Like, they're getting more out of their, like, Stoneforge activated ability as well.
Sure.
So, not all of them, but some of them. So it's like,
Skulls,
in that realm, like, definitely include this if you have expensive equipments, or just if you're a Boros deck and you have, I would say, like, if you're playing Embercleave, which is a pretty common one, this one counts as 2 attacking creatures for that. So
Embercleave.
yeah.
I know.
I just want to play this and curve into the Aether Spark.
Sure. Yeah.
It's just simple magic.
Can't do it in standard, unfortunately, because it's from the Chocobo side of the set.
Yeah.
All right, Wheeler.
Cloud Midgar Mercenary. 2 white for a 2/1 legendary human soldier mercenary. When Cloud enters, you search your library for an equipment card, reveal it, put into your hand, then shuffle. And as long as Cloud is equipped, if an ability of Cloud or an equipment attached to it triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. This is one of those cards that is, you can tell it's good just by reading it. And the explanation of why it's good is just reading it. It's like, why is this good, Ben? Well, because it's a 2-mana human that tutors for an equipment that you actually don't mind getting Caracas, in fact, make Caracas yourself.
You will.
That is going to draw so many extra cards off Skull Clamp if you're really feeling it.
Yeah.
But also, it's just a 2-mana. Stoneforge Mystic as a human is a shockingly relevant upgrade. It's great. I love that you get to just like trigger your Champion of the Parish with this card.
I know we're only 3 cards in, but card of the set for me, at least.
I haven't seen a card I care about more than this one yet.
There's some
from this set.
Yeah.
This set. And that might partly even be like the emotion talking. Like, I think Final Fantasy VII was the one that I like got into the most. Although I liked many of the other games as well. But like also just, I don't think they pointed this set at us. We can come back to that at the closing thoughts. But like this one, certainly, I think we're going to continue to see for a long time.
It's definitely like a top 5. It's just, it's a 2-drop that finds an equipment that has a home. That's a big thing, right? Like set reviews, people tend to miss cards that would be inserted into like burgeoning archetypes or archetypes that are missing that kind of redundancy to push them into a plane of existence. But also, the best cards are the ones that go everywhere. Like on the other hand, it's also just like, don't overthink it.
Yeah.
This card's 2 mana.
Play Skull Clamp for sure.
Yeah.
And then also probably play Ska Punk Outfit.
What's
Pre-war
it called?
Thank you.
wear,
Pre-war formal wear.
Took me a second. Yeah,
I legitimately didn't remember the name
that's
of the
all
card.
good. I can't call anyone on that.
This with pre-war is dope, right? Because like this brings back Cloud equipped, and so then you find 2 more equipment. So you right. So you Cloud for pre-war. This dies. You pre-war back Cloud. Then you find like Skull Clamp and I don't know.
You might put Jite or a sword in your deck because you're running Cloud now. You might.
I did cut Jite and sword from my equipment deck.
Now, a lot of people have been doing that lately.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's pretty typical. But Cloud really likes Jite and swords.
Yeah. I mean,
right?
Jite... actually, I'd rather play a Sword of X and Y than Jite. Because it's like...
Getting 4 counters is exciting, though, right?
Yeah. Just... The sword is like the level of overkill that I think this kind of deck, like an equipment deck, needs.
Sure.
Sure. But Jite is very like... Okay.
Also,
I did the thing.
I like that Cloud exists now for future Magic sets because we've been used to like new equipment comes in. Okay, put it in your Stoneforge deck. Try it out. Maybe you'll keep playing it, right? But with Cloud, it's like only new equipments that trigger an additional time will make you think, oh, wait, this does one more thing, Whereas like, sure, new exciting equipment.
Oh, Shadow Spear is so boring.
Right. Whether you have new equipment will come out for Highlander, whether you have a Stoneforge or not, you're like, or whether you have a Cloud or not, you might put it in still. But if it has a triggered ability, then you're like, wait a second, what does this do with Cloud? We're going to be saying this for decades.
All right. Next up, Nelly.
I'd like to talk about Dion, Bahamut's Dominant. 3 and a white for a legendary 3/3 human noble knight with Dragonfire Dive. During your turn, Dion and other knights you control have flying. When Dion enters, create a 2/2 white knight creature token and 4 white and tap. Exile Dion, then return to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control. Activate only as a sorcery. And on the backside, you get a 5/5, I think Bahamut.
Yeah, Bahamut something.
Yeah, probably a flying creature, possibly with more text.
I believe a 5/5 flying enchantment saga creature that Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 is you put a 1/1 counter on each other creature you control, and they gain flying until end of turn. And Chapter 3 is destroy target permanent, exile Bahamut, then return it to the battlefield.
Okay.
Yeah, the Warden of Light.
So definitely play this card in your Knights deck. It's a 4-mana 3/3 that comes with a 2/2. So not the absolute best own target for Caracas, but there are situations where it'll come up, and certainly a little bit of a punishment for your opponent's Caracas.
Sorry, did you say Knights deck?
Yeah, put it in your Knights.
Human knight? It makes knights?
You've played Knights before, don't you?
It was probably one of the worst decks
I remember.
Yeah,
but now it's got Dion.
That's true. That's true. But the best card in that deck was Fetid Heath because it let you cast your
That's
White
right.
Knight and your Black Knight.
Yeah, let you cast literally any card in
Yeah.
the deck, basically. I could see maybe some utility for humans here. It's 2 bodies, so I don't know a tokens deck where you're tapping 6 and flipping this, buddy. But
I'm surprised that y'all aren't in on this card.
I'm low on this. I think this is
Really?
very slow.
Oh, I think it's great.
Do you?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel
Where
it's
do you-
just
where
so
do you see
weak
it?
to Caracas that
It's not that weak to crack.
All right.
no, it's got Caracas tax at the very least.
sure makes
Yeah.
it 2/2. All right, where are you playing this, Wheeler?
The 2/2 has flying on your turn as well, unless they Caracas it before.
Yeah, I'd like to play it in mono white humans. It has
The token isn't human.
Yeah,
but
the token's not human, but this is just like it being human itself is relevant to some of the synergies, but also that's a deck that is going to spend its points on fast mana and have a bunch of ways of dealing with Caracas, right? Making 5 power across 2 bodies with flying, with the occasional splash damage of giving other knights in that deck flying, is pretty exciting to me, honestly. Like, this can push a reasonable amount of damage. And then 6 mana is not like a made up number in like that style of deck, right? Like, you can get to Soul Ring. It's not like 12 mana, activate this, get a terrible creature that like wins your commander game or whatever. It's like 6 mana, very realistic to hit, and then you just get this big flying card that buffs the rest of your team. If you have one other creature, you're not even losing out on pushing damage because your knight is now a 3/3 that is flying, and then your other creature, if it's a 1/1, it becomes a 2/2 now as flying. So you're still pushing for 5. So, one of the issues is like, well, do I activate this or do I just push damage? You get the same amount of damage, basically. And then this last ability, Destroy Target Permanent, is huge. Like, Canlander gets this reputation of being like fast. And I don't know if that's entirely true. I think I think nowadays there are a ton of micro decisions that you need to make in the first 3 turns. And if you screw those up, yeah, you're probably going to lose quickly. But then after everybody's done like punching each other in the groin, then the smoke clears, and then you have to play Magic the Gathering. And this is a card that excels in that kind of like space.
Last Monday, I went to time on round 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So, like, just exhausted.
Now, that is, of
grind
course,
fest.
because Serge slow plays intentionally for
Constantly,
competitive
yeah.
gain.
I like to just rope every single decision my opponent makes.
Oh, gosh, what do I do?
Yeah.
I think time's obviously going to tell. I'm going to side with. I don't think we're still going to be talking about
No,
Dion in a year.
I'm with Nelly on this one.
How much do you want to put on it? Do you want? I bet I can.
If you,
you want action on this?
Entering Wheeler's mono white arc
You
here.
want action?
You know I love gambling.
Yeah.
But we're going to need like another hour-long podcast just to write up the contract for like what determines who was right.
Just let me if I can win a Monday night with this card.
Oh, if you
and
can
I
win a
and I
Monday night with
and,
it, huh?
and I well, I mean,
Yeah, he's like,
And
it
I
was
cast
it
it.
was in the 100, but he never cast it.
no,
Yeah.
I have to cast.
I
it.
will make that bet with you about you winning on a Monday night as long as you will hold 100 concurrent similar bets, and one of them has to be with Chimney Imp.
All right, never mind. I'm
Okay.
good.
Next up, we have Gata and Luzu. Lutsu?
Keep going.
Lizzie.
This is a 3-mana 1/1 legendary human soldier for 2 and a white. We got Flash. And when they enter, choose target creature you control. If damage would be dealt to that creature this turn, prevent that damage and put that many +1/+1 counters on it. I'm a big fan of white Flash threats. In particular, white Flash threats that kind of really swing the tempo of what your opponent is trying to do. And I think this is pretty interesting. It either bricks specifically a red removal spell. White and black are going to get around those ones. Or it really messes up some combat math. Like if your opponent swings out, you can flash this in, block it. Let me make sure I'm reading that correctly. Choose target creature control. If damage would be dealt to that creature, prevent it, make it big. Yeah, this seems like a huge way to just sort of open your opponent up to swing out, block, and then swing back. The tricky thing is I'm not entirely certain which deck is really excited to play a 3-mana 1/1 because we've talked about the good situations, which would be the ceiling. The floor of this card is maybe a little bit awkward. The nice thing is it can target itself. So you can always use it as sort of like in a worst case scenario as a surprise blocker, and it'll come in. It could be big, 3/3, 4/4 for 3 changes the combat math on that. So I know that there's a Esper Flash deck that Angels rocked, and I like it in there. I could maybe think of it. I did enjoy Blue-White Tempo for a very long time and a home for that, but I can't think of too many outside of that.
Yeah, that's probably just it.
Do you want to tell him or should I?
This card's also a human that has Ancient 2 mana? What are we talking about?
Yeah, you do that. I don't know, just the combo potential that comes out of the same commander deck that shows up in.
Right.
We'd be remiss if we didn't mention it. Like inside the precon, even there's a Walking Ballista and a Hardened Scales, and so any of the green white or green white X +1/+1 counter themed kind of Hardened Scales deck, you may include this as a combo win. You just like get a Hardened Scales out, get a Walking Ballista on at least 2, target itself, flash in Gata and whatever your name is, and then let the ability from Walking Ballista resolve, and now it's for the whole turn, right? This turn, if damage would be dealt to it this turn, put that many, but you have Hardened Scales, so put an extra counter on. So now the Walking Ballista 1 damage resolves. It doesn't get damage, and it gets 2 +1/+1 counters.
Well, how does it go infinite?
Repeat.
Don't you need infinite?
Now for just your 3 cards, and you've spent your mana on Gata, you've added a +1/+1 counter to your Walking Ballista. So you do the thing again. You take one off. It's now a 2/2, whereas when we started it was a 1/1.
Right, of course. The
Take one
other
off.
ability on Walking Ballista. Sorry, I was like, but you have to pay mana to add counters.
Yeah, no, just shooting
You
itself.
just shoot it over and over and
So
over.
just
Yes.
shoot it until it has your
Like-
opponent's life
like-
total, and then shoot your opponent.
Like Heliod combo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Oh, that's so elegant.
combo.
Okay,
Exactly.
put this in your +1/+1 deck.
Yeah.
Sick. Yeah, Hardened Scale deck. I didn't think of that line. Thank you for that
There's
inclusion.
probably some other infinite
Sure.
combos with Gata as well. That's just the one that literally comes in the pre-con box.
I love that.
But also, it includes 2 cards that we tend to play. in
Yeah.
those cards. Now, I will say, I've done some experimenting with Hardened Scales decks in recent years, and I find them hard to win with.
Yeah.
Like, I think maybe Hardened Scales is just a trap at this point. Even though they've given us a bunch of good Hardened Scales.
There's a lot of really good +1/+1
They
creatures.
seem
I
like
think
they're all
it's-
really good, but
Yeah,
like,
you don't really need to add additional counters to them. They already
Right.
do that.
Sure. Yeah, it's just like there's a bunch of good +1/+1 centered cards, but I don't know that the +1/+1 counters deck is a real thing. That's where I'm at on it.
I mean,
I want to be proven wrong.
it's fine. It's a creature deck. It grows bigger. I think it's a skill issue, honestly. If you've been having problems, no offense. I mean, a little offense.
I'm
Yeah,
offended.
you know what? I'm going to get a little. I have
No,
not.
that was rude.
Show me,
Well, I have not.
show me your Monday night winning list that centers around Hardened Scales.
I mean, I'm not playing this on Monday night. Have you seen what the animals at Yellow Jacket play?
That's where I'm at in the conversation, sir.
Yeah, but it's. I mean, the YJ meta is one that it might be more harsh to that style of deck, but like. There are other metagames that are just going to fold to having
Big
like
creature.
everything's a Tarmogoyf. Everything is massive. And my experience with the counters deck has run counter to that. Of your cards are just big and cheap and you have removal. I don't actually see this as a counters card though.
Sure.
For what it's worth. Like I see this as like if you are in an A+B creature combo deck
Yeah.
with like Walking Ballista, Heliod, that kind of package, or in the Flash deck, or the Tempo deck, because Blue-White Tempo has been picking up online.
Oh.
Like the Blue-White, they always play that Sage of Skies card, so that's the card I think of.
I guess
like
you
the
can.
double one.
You can also just 2 or 3 creatures to the top of your deck. I don't know why.
Congregation of
Use a
Dawn?
Congregation of Dawn for a Hardened Scales that's a creature. Take your pick with the Ballista in this thing.
All right, let's move on. Wheeler.
Venat Heart of Hydaelyn. Venat Heart of Hydaelyn. 1 white for a 3/3 legendary Elder Wizard. It says whenever you cast a legendary spell, draw a card. The spell triggers only once each turn. Then has Hero Sundering. Pay 7 generic. Tap, exile, target non-land permanent. Transform Venat. Activate only as a sorcery. Transforms into Hydaelyn the Mother Crystal. Very funny name. A 4/4 legendary god that's indestructible. It says at the beginning of combat on your turn, put a 1/1 counter on another target creature you control. Until your next turn, it gains indestructible. If that creature is legendary, draw a card. I'm not super keen on this card compared to some of the other pay a bunch of mana, be able to transform it cards. This one gets Baracus to all hell. Doesn't do anything on ETB by itself. Doesn't really have much going for it in terms of like combat potential. It's appealing to be like, ooh, I play this Venat and then I cast like a Mox Amber or whatever and I draw a card and you start doing that. But something that this set has a lot of are cards that do the same job as a pre-existing card, but not efficiently enough to consider it like adequate redundancy. You know what I mean? Like
This card is like a 3-mana Silversmith. Right? In like a deck that's kind of real, right?
Yes.
You can play Silversmith in eggs, but if you play this in eggs, it's going to feel a little awkward.
Yeah, it's just like how many cards does this need to draw in order for it to be like worthwhile? And the answer is like 1.5, I guess. Like you're not really wanting to play a 3-mana 3/3 that draws a card. It limited to once per turn, not super exciting. 7 generic mana is a little more than 6 mana. Even though there is an ability attached to it, right? Like the exile part. I'm also the double white pips kind of make it a little bit of a pisser for, ancient 2-mana decks.
So we have hard to cast, dies to all removal, and doesn't really do a lot.
Yeah,
Sick.
more or less. It draws cards, which people love, and, has late game potential, but
It's not even a human.
Which card am I trying to think of? It's not called Silversmith. 2/1 for
Riddlesmith?
1 blue. Riddlesmith.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you cast an artifact and you can loot.
yeah, Loot.
But don't you have to
Riddlesmith.
pay?
No.
I thought Riddlesmith you have to pay 1 mana.
No, you only have
there's
to
a cycle.
pay for Mirror-Smith, Life-Smith, and
That's-
of course,
yeah, right,
Ember-Smith.
Thank you. Riddlesmith.
Riddlesmith and Painsmith are free.
Do play Riddlesmith.
Yeah, that's a good one, actually, yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about Zach Fair, but it's not. Haha. 1 white mana for a 0/1 legendary human soldier that enters with a +1/+1 counter on it. Pay 1 and sacrifice Zach. Target creature you control gains indestructible until end of turn. Put Zach Fair's counters on that creature and attach an equipment that was attached to Zach Fair to that creature. So a legendary, very good boy, right? Like this card is a human, but it's coded as a dog. And I think I haven't
Damn.
played. Yeah,
I mean, you're not wrong, but still.
I don't remember meeting Zach, although I've played much of Final Fantasy VII. But probably that's because they had a short and tragic involvement in the story, much like Selfless Savior.
Does he turn into a dog, or do people keep?
No.
He does Selfless Savior.
It's
stuff.
just Selfless
Yeah.
Savior. Is that
Okay.
there's 1 or 2 different dogs they've made now that are like Selfless Savior too. Isn't there like a 2-mana Selfless Savior from a core set? Anyways, Selfless Savior being enough of a like watchword of a card, a watchwolf even, that this does the same thing as that, except it also moves counters and equipment. So that's maybe worth being legendary. It's also what creature type again, Wheeler?
Human.
So for both your equipment decks and your human decks, I would try to see if you can fit Zach in. They only cost 1 mana, so that kind of deals with Caracas on its own. Frankly, the whole build of the card deals with Caracas on its own. If Caracas is a problem for you, you can spend 1 mana and just put Zach's power and toughness on another creature.
It's a 1-mana card with an activated ability that costs 1 mana that does 3 different things. Like that's pretty good.
Yeah. No, this card's solid.
Yeah.
Let's move on to blue. We're going to start with the Astrologians Planisphere. Nailed it. 2 mana artifact equipment for 1 and a blue with job select. So this is a new mechanic that we haven't talked about in the set. Job select are equipment that give jobs, which seems pretty cool. I mean, it sounds very simple when you put it that way, but instead of just giving it the ability that most equipment gives, it'll also make it a wizard or a knight or a ninja or a samurai, which is kind of cool for your like Flame of Anor for this one. Would love this card. Anor?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Because it turns it into a wizard?
Equipped creature is a wizard in addition to its other types and has whenever you cast a non-creature spell and whenever you draw your third card each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature, equips for 2. This is cool. The thing that I really like about this entire cycle of job select is it's got that old living weapon archetype. So you need to think of them both as equipments, but also they're kind of just creature spells. So this is a 2 mana 1/1 with this pretty strong ability to grow, as well as the wizard creature type. It's tutorable off of Cloud.
That's what we say now.
It's pretty, yeah.
That's what we say. We don't say Steel Shaper's Gift. We say Cloud.
It has a reasonably cheap equipability too. One of my critiques of a lot of the job select equipment is it's like 5 to move over.
The
something
common
afterwards.
red one that gives +3/+2 is like 5 mana.
Yeah. So I like this one. I think it's very aggressively costed. I think it's fairly cheap and it's exciting. My only critique is short of the blue-white artifact deck and maybe my blue-white temple list, you're not really often running Stoneforge Mystic and blue cards together. Are you changing that? Are we changing that? Because I don't know.
It's rare, but it can happen.
I think this set might push, not because of this card. I think this card's like...
It's fine.
It's fine. Yeah, Jeskai equipment and Bant equipment are like...
Brother, I don't even want to tell you how I tried Jeskai equipment over the past 2 weeks, and I don't know if I know how to pilot Jeskai.
Okay, well...
Skill issue, I know.
Yeah, I mean...
Honestly, Jeskai, don't overthink it. You're probably overthinking
Dude, I massively overthunk it. I got... Oh, man, I don't...
You were 100% overthinking that.
Yeah.
But your cards do the work in Jeskai.
I don't know, like Bant equipment, too. Like, you...
I mean, old
you get to play...
back a little
play
bit.
Nadu.
Nice.
You just get to be an equipment
You have to
that
pay
also
a
has
point
Nadu.
for it now, though.
Now, man.
Yeah, that's okay. Triple
okay,
Mox
it's
Nadu.
Yeah.
Or like Mox Box, Nadu, Saga, Ancient Tomb.
It's true.
Giant Snake, Birthday Cake, Large Fries, Chocolate Shake.
55 fries, 55 shakes.
Hamburgers.
Last time I played Bant equipment, I had to pay points for my Stoneforge Mystic.
Yeah. No, that's valid. So I don't know that anything else to add to the Planisphere?
I have something to add. I have to say, Yo Dog, I heard you like Sprite Dragons, so we put some Sprite Dragon in your equipment, and now all your creatures are Sprite Dragon. I think this card is cool and good in is it Blitz, which is an archetype I haven't played a lot recently, but I played that like the fast low to the ground, like winning from Bellevue or something, or Vancouver blue red
Windy's
deck.
blue red.
Yeah. Blue red tempo, which is like a cousin because the mana is the same, and like this card in decks
So
that have
you just
prowess.
play it. You don't even care about Stoneforge. You just run it as
It's just
you just
another
play
creature.
it.
It's just another super prowess threat.
It's
Sure.
Corey Steelcutter at home.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Helps for Delirium in those decks.
Yeah, it helps for just consistency of like your 2 mana threats being solid. Like this is a solid 2 mana threat in that deck.
Yeah.
All right, Wheeler.
Jill, Shiva's Dominant. 2 and a blue for a 2/2 legendary human noble warrior. When Jill enters, return up to 1 other target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, and then you can pay 3 blue, tap, exile Jill, then return to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control, activate only as a sorcery, and Jill turns into Shiva, Warden of Ice, a 4/5 legendary enchantment creature. It's a Saga Elemental. That has Chapter 1, Chapter 2, target creature can't be blocked this turn, and Chapter 3, tap all lands your opponents control, exile Shiva, then return it to the battlefield. So, of course, this would have it come back as Jill, which then means that it would come into play and bounce something else. This is like the best Mana War they've ever printed.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean a huge... that doesn't mean much in 2025.
Yeah.
But we have seen players testing more with Allurin again. Allurin has picked up a couple of tournament wins, both locally and online. And this card is a pretty dope target for Allurin in the sense that it just deals with anything.
It says target non-land permanent.
Yep.
Even you can even bounce your own thing.
Yeah, there's a chance that this card will have more of a home like as well, because as I've said multiple times, Magic players undervalue flexibility. And they also overvalue flexibility. And so, like, I imagine there's going to become a point where people are like, yeah, I just need a card that deals with something. And it happens to be a human, happens to be one that you can Krakus, and that's kind of cool. The Shiva side is fine. Like, I'm sure it'll pop up and it'll be like, you'll win some games off of it. But I just like the fact that it is easy to find off of, like, both recruiters, deals with a problematic permanent, or can bounce, reset your own thing. Like, this card may show up in Seeker Walk decks as well. Goes infinite with Nyambi, the 2/1 that when it ETBs, you return another creature you control and you gain life equal to its mana value or whatever, and then you play this and return Nyambi, and you go with
Allurin. Yeah,
with
Allurin. It's a 2-card combo with Allurin.
You can also just have this as a part of your Allurin stack, where you like Recruiter of the Guard for this, play Jill, return Recruiter of the Guard, Recruiter of the Guard, find Cavern Harpy, your Jill, return Recruiter, find, I don't know, Parasitic Strix or whatever if you want to do that.
However you want to win. Yeah.
That's great. Yep. That's very cool. Yeah, just good utility card that also has combo application.
Cool. All right, next up, Nelly. Unless you had more, do you want to talk about Jill?
I did, but then I forgot what I was going to say. It's fine. Oh, just in non-Allurin, I remember non-Allurin situations, we mentioned Caracas, but it's just worth noting that, like, I have played games and watched games, like games for stakes, where Venser and Caracas are, like, happening. Like, that's the relevant thing. And yes, Venser has flash, and yes, Venser targets a spell as well, but it's worth noting this is only 3 mana. So you can set up that, like, nuisance engine for only 4 of your mana. If that's where the game goes. Matoya, Archon Elder, another 3-drop in blue, 2 and a blue for a 1/4 legendary human warlock. And whenever you scry or surveil, draw a card. Lol. This is unfortunately Caraxable, but not boltable. You don't want to Caracas your own Matoya, so when your opponent has it, that's going to be annoying. But hopefully by the time that's happened, you've already drawn extra cards off of your Murders of Markov Manor lands. Karlov Manor. Markov.
Yeah, Karlov.
Murders at Soren's house. I don't know.
Surveil lands.
Your Surveil lands, thank you.
We all forgot.
Yeah, I'm never going to remember. Anyways, we're all constantly surveilling because it's 2025 now, and everyone has figured out how good Surveil lands. Actually, I have good news about that. From last podcast episode to this podcast episode, Surveil lands have only gotten a microscopic fraction better. Like we said they were going to keep getting better, and we were right, but they've only gotten a tiny, tiny bit better.
Oh, okay.
So we've actually, all the community has figured out how good Surveil lands are.
They're pretty busted.
Basically, we know, and so it might as well just say, like, draw 2 cards on it. That's what I think on average this is going to do. You have a 1/4 that draws 2 cards, and then I don't know. Are there combo applications? There's probably combo applications.
I'm just trying to think, where do we play this? And my only first thought is Blue Moon. But I don't know if this is good enough to play in non-slow decks.
I think you could play this in Scape Shift. The Rug Scape Shift lists have been playing. Occasionally, they'll play Hurkle.
Yeah,
I'm a Hurkle hater.
You are.
I'm more into this card. Just it's easier to cast. Is going to get you free cards off your lands.
The thing, being easier to cast than Hurkle is actually relevant because, you know, your lands are obviously a bit of a question mark in that deck, and when you want Hurkle, it's immediately. Like, you want to be like, turn 1, Ponder, turn 2, Farseek, turn 3, Blocker. Mm-hmm. So, like, that's what this thing is doing. It's hoping to survive combat like Hurkle and then draw a card.
Yeah, if I Farseek into this and then play a fetch land, it's over. Like, I'm drawing a card at least.
Right?
Also, I now don't need to feel terrible about wanting to put Search for Escanta in that deck.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah,
that's really funny.
Also,
wait, does Search for Escanta actually say Surveil, or is it mechanically Surveil without actually being Surveil?
It's Surveil now. Yeah.
If they Oracle, that's cool.
But also just like drawing 2 cards off to your opt and consider.
Yeah, and the backside of Escanta is Scry, isn't it, or is it mechanically different as well?
No, it's just like sneak some cards.
It's not either one on the back because you actually look and then you take one.
Oh, sure. That's
who knows?
Very
Maybe
funny.
Castle. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, Ardenvale.
Vanifar. No, Castle Vanifar.
Ardenvale's the white one.
Ardenvale's the white one. The blue castle. Maybe the blue castle.
Is playable with this?
Vantress.
It's Vantress.
God.
We're kind of excited about this card, but honestly, it's probably a flash in the pan. You might try it and then you'll cut it.
It is my hear me out.
Yeah, no, it's
I know what you're thinking, but come on,
it's not actually a big deal. Although I haven't thought of one, but it's possible that like this will combo eventually, or it does already. We haven't figured it out. Like it doesn't cost any mana to draw this card, and it just responds to other triggers and other abilities and one-shot effects and stuff. So like possibly this will be a combo piece. That's all.
All right, next up, I'd like to start this card with an apology. Kiti Treepy?
Sure.
Quistis is like a real name, isn't it?
Trepe? It's supposed to be French, I believe.
No, just Quistis Trape. Just pretend it's crepe.
Quistis Trape.
There you go.
3 mana, 2/2 legendary human wizard for 2 and a blue. Blue magic. When they enter, you may cast target instant or sorcery card from a graveyard. And mana of any type can be spent to cast that spell. If that spell would be put anywhere, if that spell would be put into a graveyard, exile it instead. We have another Snapcaster, except this one doesn't have flash. You're looking at me like it's slightly different.
Let him finish.
So Snapcaster.
Just let him finish.
I'm letting him finish. I'm just getting ready.
You're getting ready. All right. Snapcaster says, target creature in your graveyard has flashback, which this doesn't have. It says target instant or sorcery in your graveyard gains flashback.
No, you said creature. You said it gives.
This says when it enters, you may cast. So it's part of the ETB trigger, which is relevant, right?
Yeah,
because you don't get that weird little timing thing where you can target it and wait a whole bunch of time like that. It doesn't have flash. See, now you screwed me up. Why don't you take this card, Wheeler?
Hold on. Quistis isn't a real name. I made that up. I just played Final Fantasy VIII. I'm remembering. I said it out loud before because I was like playing it with my friends.
Okay, read the first sentence again.
When they enter, you may cast target instant or sorcery card from a graveyard.
Yeah, from a graveyard.
A graveyard. So relevantly, you can hit your opponent's graveyard.
Yeah, you target
their graveyard.
So
that's the part that I missed. Okay, I looked at this before, and I saw that it was an uncommon, and I thought to myself, how good could it be? And I'm going to be real. There's a lot of cards between the four commander decks and the set.
Yeah.
I skimmed this one. All right. Yeah. I looked at this, and I was like, this is a slower legendary Snapcaster. I missed the fact that it said a graveyard.
It's also a Direfleet Daredevil. And it also, you can Direfleet Daredevil them. Yep. Snapcaster to fix your mana is kind of cute. Obviously, Caracasing it is pretty good, too.
Yeah.
We're going to mention Caracas a lot this episode.
Yeah.
I don't think this card would have made the list if Time Walk and Ancestral Recall weren't legal in our format. That's what I imagine the reason that you're paying 1 more mana for your Snapcaster Mage is worth doing, is just taking away your opponent's card that they built their whole deck around.
Yeah.
Which happens, if you're in a recall mirror or they're reanimate.
Yeah, no, I think there's enough
hitting
value.
their reanimate is Dees too.
I mean,
there's lots of Dees targets.
You hit their hand attack. I think this card offers a tremendous amount of flexibility.
If your deck is taken apart by me exiling the reanimate from your yard, that's weird. You should have 3 or 4 copies of that. But I think specifically Time Walk for 2 mana and recall.
Well, I get to take your reanimate and your threat.
Yeah.
Right? That is pretty hot.
Yeah, this card, the more I think about it, the more I like it. I also like this in a deck with your own Caracas. You just keep taxing their graveyard.
Yeah.
Graveyard
Snapcaster, you can Caracas. Yeah.
No.
I mean, you should play that Kess Dissident Mage card if you're really excited about that.
I like Kess.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else to say about this, Wheeler. Let's move on.
Stolen Uniform. 1 blue for an instant. Choose target creature you control and target equipment. Gain control of that equipment until end of turn. Attach it to the chosen creature. When you lose control of that equipment this turn, if it's attached to a creature you control, unattach it. This is a magnetic theft style card of 1 mana. Put Colossus Hammer onto my creature, or Cauldron Complete onto my creature, or spoiler alert, the second Colossus Hammer that is in this set onto my creature. But it is also, I'm going to yoink your Shadow Spear or your Nettle Cyst and blow you out. Or it's, I'm going to yoink your Skull Clamp and draw some cards immediately.
I might also be yoinking your thing that's keeping your Germ token alive.
Yes,
so that
exactly.
I can get in for damage. Yeah.
You gain control of it and get to attach it to something, so it just kills the germ.
Yeah.
Right? There are some other cards that are like this where technically it's still attached to the creature, and it's those are old Magic cards when equipment was still fresh in the mines.
Sure. Didn't quite know how to get it, right?
Yeah, but this one is upgraded version of that. It's obviously niche in its application, but let me tell you, putting Colossus Hammer onto something really kills people. Also, just I'm trying to figure out the ruling of this for a while, but if my Aether Spark is for whatever reason unattached, and they go to attack it, and I just play this and attach it, It's no longer they can no longer attack it, right?
I need to read Aetherspark to answer this question, but probably there's an application. Like
Aetherpark has the line, which is if it's attached, it can't be attacked.
Yes.
Okay, so you got to do that before attackers, and then they've got to kill it again,
Right.
Kill the creature again before attackers. Still,
Right. Okay.
But if they've started attacking it,
still tapped in.
I think they're still attacking it.
It's
Please
sort of
correct me if I'm
That'd be
wrong.
the same rules as like if a creature gains flying after it's blocked, it's still blocked.
Exactly.
That's your.
If it
sure.
gains first strike damage after it already dealt damage, it doesn't take the damage away or whatever. You know what I mean? Or if it loses first strike, it'll still deal regular damage. That sort of thing.
It can't be attacked, but if they're tapped in attacking,
Yeah, that's the only time that the game cares about being attacked.
It's still kind of funny
It's
if
still-
they're
it's
like,
still
funny. Yeah.
like they make some plays to try and get to the Aetherspark, and you're like, actually, no.
Yeah.
I am exactly the kind of player that's going to die with stolen uniform in my hand against like goblins or a deck that doesn't have anything.
Yep.
Well,
and be really sad.
for sure, don't play it if you're not playing Colossus Hammer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also like it just as a cheap way in your own deck to equip something that's big, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't necessarily play it as a way to get your opponent. You could also play it as kind of like a cheap stifle knot kind of effect, right? Or you attack with two creatures and they block the one that's equipped, and you go ha ha, and you move it over.
Yeah.
right.
No, I think that's the best way to use it. Probably is just
Sure.
after blockers move for lethal damage.
Yep. Anyways,
Okay.
next up, in the last card in the blue cycle, we have the Valkyrie Aerial Unit. This is a 7-mana 5/4 artifact creature for 5 blue. Did I skip you, Nelly?
It's all good. Keep
I
going.
did skip you. No, please, by all means.
It's a 5/4 for 5 blue artifact creature construct with affinity for artifacts. It has flying, and when it enters, surveil 2. Okay. This is a robots card. Don't overthink it.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
I'll be trying it in my robots deck.
Yeah, 2-mana 5/4 flyer.
Yeah.
Are you playing Mirror Enforcer or the other like flying? They made a new Somber Hover Guard. They had to make a new Quemulox.
Exactly. Yeah, but this one's an artifact. Quantum Lux wasn't an artifact.
Yes.
So this one absolutely triggers your Simulacrum Synthesizer and makes your other
Kappa
Teletubbies
Cannoneer.
cheaper. But yeah, you know me. I'd be playing those Mirror Enforcers sometimes in Canadian Highlander. So next time I sleeve that deck up, it's going to include this new flying Mirror Enforcer.
Great.
Sorry about that, bud.
Oh, you're fine.
All
yeah,
right.
you're fine.
Starting off the black cards, I'm going to talk about the Black Mage's Rod. This is a 2-mana job select. So 1 in a black, you get a 1/1 hero, and the equipment gives it +1/+0, has whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent and is a wizard to its other types and equips for 3. So a 2-mana 2/1 with sort of an interesting like ping prowess sort
like
of effect.
Kessig Flame Breather.
Yeah, Flame Breather, half a gutter snipe, that sort of
Firebrand
thing.
Archer.
So what's interesting on those are typically in red.
Yes.
So getting this in black is a neat effect. And I can think of this basically if you want to be a low to the ground, aggressive combo deck. Or is there a weird combo application? Are you playing this in like green black? What was it was a combo that came out in Strixhaven.
Oh, Wife Guy.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's the name of the deck or the name of the combo?
That's my name for the Chain of Smog, Sedgemoor
Witherbloom.
Witch,
Oh, yeah.
Witherbloom Apprentice.
Right? Like, does this like that? I mean, it's weird because that's a 2-card combo that already kills them, so you don't need that density. But it feels like this either wants to go into black mold just to push more damage because it's an efficiently costed body, and you get more value out of your hand attack for a little bit of ping damage, or you're putting it in some kind of like spells matter combo deck.
Yeah, this feels like if you're playing Kessig Flame Breather but want to dip
Sure.
into black because
Sure.
there's a bunch of card draw in black and other burn spells.
Yeah, it's also worth mentioning we don't cover a lot of commons, and so
Yeah.
for this to punch above its weight is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Ideally, the folks at R&D are like spreading the power level between the rarities. They say that they do that in practice. In practice, it's been a little bit different lately. But I want to shout out a couple more applications for this card. I'm
Sure.
obviously very excited about it. I think it can go in mono black decks,
Yep.
specifically the ones that are higher on the mana curve. So mono black mid range, mono black control. Just as you said it, a way to push through direct damage. Those decks love having those effects, and they are rare. There are lots of them at this point, various Sign and Bloods and whatnot. This card isn't as powerful as Sheldred, but it costs 2 mana. And also, being a Kessig Flamebreaker type card, the other version of that we see played somewhat regularly. It's been a while. More often, the combo kills in Storm are using Brain Freeze lately, or the regular tendrils. But this does offer you like essentially black Grape Shot. So for me specifically, a player who has tried putting mono black Storm kills into decks, this is like another semi-redundant card, not as powerful as the Tendrils of Agony, but has a really good second application of just being a 2-mana blocker.
Sick.
Yeah.
All right, next up, Wheeler.
Well, I'm going to trade this card to Nelson.
All right.
Yeah, take it, bud. Take it.
I like both the next couple cards, but let me talk about Cecil, Dark Knight. 1 black mana for a 2/3 legendary human knight with Death Touch and Darkness. Whenever Cecil deals damage, you lose that much life. Then if your life total is less than or equal to half your starting life total, untap Cecil and transform it. And then on the back, you get Cecil, Redeemed Paladin, a 4/4 white lifelink creature with Protect. Whenever this attacks, other attacking creatures gain indestructible until the turn.
Ooh.
So there's definitely at least one deck for Cecil, and it's mono black aggro, also sometimes known as suicide black. Cards that make you lose life when they deal damage haven't been printed for quite a while because winning the game is already hard enough. But this one really offers a great, payoff and intrinsic sort of reward for being willing to dip down to half your life total or less, where you get a 4/4 lifelink creature and your alpha strikes look scary, and it only costs 1 black mana, which is like my favorite casting cost in the aggro black deck.
Do you like this in Death Shadow? Because I know you've tried Death Shadow in Highlander as well, right?
Yeah.
It's weird because it fuels it, but it also taxes it.
Right. I brought Death Shadow to an FNPF, and I wasn't super successful. But yeah, sure. If I played that deck again, I would probably throw this in Jund Death Shadow or Grixis Death Shadow. I like it. I like it for sure in mono black aggro. I think a 1 mana 2/3 Death Touch with this quest, let's call it. It's not exactly a downside. It's not exactly an upside. It's an interesting condition that potentially rewards you with a 4/4 lifelink that makes the rest of your team indestructible when it attacks. Like that's a lot of payoff for a 1-drop.
All right, now let's talk about payoff for 1-drop. We've increasingly been seeing Nethergoyf.
Right.
Seeing a lot of play in decks, even just splashing black, because it's a very powerful 1-drop with upside. Do we think Cecil is good enough in mid-range decks that it'll see the same sort of widespread play as a Nethergoyf?
No.
Is that a very slow? You stretch your neck? You say no over there, Wheeler?
Both.
Yeah, it's okay. I didn't need Wheeler's help to bite on that one. This card, I don't want you to put it in your deck unless you are already comfortable with paying life every time Cecil deals damage. And keep in mind, every time your creature deals damage, especially on one that has more toughness than power, can be frequent. Like, your creatures deal damage every time you attack your opponent. So this can be a lot of life. Like, if you aren't in a style of deck that is used to, comfortable with, perhaps even planning on dipping down below 5 life points as it's trying to win the game, be wary of Cecil, okay? You could play Foulmire Knight. That's another card that doesn't see much play that like is kind of an interesting, flexible Death Toucher in black. Yeah.
From the Commander product, it's Interceptor Shadow's Hound. 2 black for a 4/3 legendary dog with Menace, and assassins you control have Menace. And whenever you attack with 1 or more legendary creatures, you can pay 2 and a black. And if you do, return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped and attacking. There are versions of Dredge in Canadian Highlander that play a reasonable amount of legendary creatures. Even the versions that don't play a huge amount of them are often just trying to get legendary creatures into play. And so anytime there is a creature that can, circumvent the actual casting a spell and put itself into play, it's interesting to look at. You only need to attack, which is great. Like, it's attacking with 1 or more. That's not that difficult to achieve. You don't have to hit, you don't have to deal combat damage or anything like that. You just got to turn your Hogak or your Luris or your Baby Grist sideways to get this back. There's not a huge amount of assassin synergy, but that's okay. I'll just take a free 4/3 menacing dog instead.
Yeah, it's not even a cast, so it gets around counterspell too.
Yep.
Outside of Dredge, I also like this in Recurring Nightmare decks, which I really need to bring back. But with Dragons and Tark here, they gave us the little baby Siege Rhino, and I've been really meaning to put together like Abzan Recurring Nightmare, and I mean, this feels like such a great auto include, because you're right, it lets you get ahead on on tempo, and that deck plays a lot of legends already.
Yeah.
All right, we'll skip Nelly and then we'll
Sure.
get back to the rotation. So I'm going to take Resentful Revelation. This is a 2-mana sorcery for 1 and a black. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard, and it has flashback for 7. My God, a black draw spell that doesn't cost you life. Where 2025, we've come so far.
Well, they gave us Guilds of Ravnica gave us I forget the name of it because I stopped playing it a lot, and then we also had one of the Modern Horizons ones. They're pretty similar. So for 2 mana and no life points, we have been getting cantrips,
this is the
but
third one of this, right?
Yeah.
This is the first one with flashback.
Yes.
Yes.
Which is pretty cool.
We have Strat Planning, which is
Thank
the
you.
original in blue, and then we got Ransack the Lab,
Ransack the
which is the
Laboratory.
black one.
Ransack the Laboratory, it's worth mentioning,
And then-
even sees play in combo.
For sure.
Like Stormless will play that a lot as a way just to if you're really digging for, I mean, anything, but I like this better in combo than like mid-range deck. But you were saying.
Black getting real cantrips, admittedly for 2 mana, has been slowly increasing. We're approaching the point where you can get there's enough of them that you can reliably plan to be part of your curve in a Highlander deck. This one having flashback is kind of cool. I don't know how often that's going to matter, but if you're in mono black control, like you'll eventually play a game where you flash back.
There are Storm matchups where you just like are just ripping lands, playing them, and just like waiting for your silence or whatever.
Sure.
And this is a great like card to just you played it early and then you get to play it again. Your opponent's like, I don't really want to counter this, but also don't want them to get up on cards.
Yeah.
Can someone remember the name of this Guilds of Ravnica? Maybe it's not a fuse card, but it's definitely a split card, and it's the Dimir half. So 1 and a blue or a black for Surveil 2 draw card.
And the other half was like cast an instant or sorcery from your graveyard or whatever.
Or from their graveyard or something. It's like the other half is expensive, but the side that you care about is 1 and a black.
I know that card does exist.
Yeah, I'm sorry we've forgotten.
Conceal and connive or
might be
I know
right.
I know the one
Like
you're
that.
talking.
Yeah.
It's on
Anyways.
play. Yeah.
So there's 3 now that I can think of. They're like 2 mana black playable cantrips.
Sick.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Wheeler.
Sephiroth Fabled Soldier. 2 and a black for a 3/3 legendary human avatar soldier. When Sephiroth enters or attacks, you may sacrifice another creature, and if you do, draw a card. Whenever another creature dies, target opponent loses 1 and you gain 1. If this is the 4th time this ability has resolved this turn, transform Sephiroth into Sephiroth One-Winged Angel, a 5/5 flying legendary angel nightmare avatar with, as this creature transforms into Sephiroth One-Winged Angel, you get an emblem with whenever a creature dies, target opponent loses 1, you gain 1, and whenever Sephiroth attacks, you may sacrifice any number of other cards, and if you do, draw that many cards.
Hey, Wheeler.
Yeah?
Does this go in Aristocrats?
I would play
said the
this
thing.
card in Aristocrats. I would also play this card in just like
Black decks.
maybe some other black decks. Like, if we can go back to Sephiroth Fabled Soldier, because the One-Winged Angel is correct. Like, getting an emblem that triggers, but also this ability does it as well, that triggers off of any creature dying other than itself here, is huge, right? Your opponent's creatures die, great, I get to ping you. Having an ETB or attack trigger to cash in your Hunted Witness or whatever, or your Infestation Sage for a card, great. And then getting to basically control this ability as well. Like, it doesn't say only as sorcery speed or only on your turn or whatever. You just get to, sack your board if you want to drain them for a bunch and get the angel popped out and then drain them for the rest of the game. No questions asked. Can't remove that emblem. And then also just, it's a 5/5. Why not? 5/5 flyer. This is one of those cards where technically you can Caracas it and it dies to bolt, but you probably don't want to. I wouldn't recommend it. Honestly, wouldn't recommend either of those. Well, maybe the bolt. You got to deal with this card. This card's great.
I mean, the good news is, it's 3 mana. So if you are the Caracas player facing down the Sephiroth, you are going to tax their mana.
Yeah.
As you said, though, there's a couple things going on here. One is it gives you a sack outlet when it ETBs. So if that's a problem for you when you tap your Caracas, sorry. And then the other thing is there's no additional mana required to hit the transform trigger. So if you have that Caracas, you are going to need to read your opponent's board and make sure that they can't just flip it in response. Although it doesn't exile, so Oh my gosh, Judge! If
I
if I bounce to this with Caracas, and then in response they activate their other sack outlet to eat 4 cat tokens or whatever, and then flip it.
I'm gonna again. This
It's
is weird, but for the purposes of this, I say since both sides are legendary, it's
Yeah.
the same permanent.
Yeah.
And when the other side flips, it's also legendary, so it'd still be a legal target.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's.
I think if
it
the
is
flip
gonna
side
bounce,
wasn't
isn't it?
legendary, maybe it wouldn't because it would no longer be a
Not a legal target anymore.
yeah. But
Yeah.
I think in this case, just specifically because both sides are legend,
Right.
it would work. And maybe
They are going to
somebody-
get the emblem though. Yeah.
Yeah, somebody watching might be like, okay, well, it doesn't work the way you want it to, but it still works. So it could be
Right.
that the ruling is right, even though the rationale is wrong.
Yeah, I think you're correct. That's as I understand it. That's how it'll work. Your Caracas will still work, but let's get into it in the comments.
Yeah. Let's move on, Nelly.
Tonberry,
Oh.
my God, there's so many great black cards in this
Yeah,
set.
dude.
Sorry, by the way.
Oh,
connive,
thank you.
Concoct.
That's
Yeah,
not
thanks, Paul.
that's not the one we were looking for. That is what Wheeler said. It's a different
Yeah.
Guilds of
Hold
Ravnica.
on.
It's not that
flip
one?
card.
Yeah,
It's
no,
not that
the
one.
first side is 2 mana. It's the right color.
Yeah.
It's the right format, but Wheeler named the wrong card. This is on Wheeler, not you.
I think it
Paul.
starts with a D, but I don't remember what else happens after
I
that.
played this card.
I
Yeah,
did too.
it's playable.
Well, I was playing that stupid red blue storm enchantment at the time.
Thousand Years.
Thousand Year Storm,
you
and that
put it
was
in standard.
You're
Yeah,
thinking
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
Discovery Dispersal.
Thank
Discovery
you.
Dispersal.
Discovery
yeah.
Dispersal,
And
Paul.
I think Discovery Dispersal also saw play in the Arc-like Phoenix deck because
Yeah,
it let
yep.
you it let you
Surveil was good.
put the Phoenixes in your graveyard, and also worked as part of the cantrip to both like fuel it and bring them back.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
anyways,
All right.
Tonberry.
Tonberry, 1 black mana for a 2/1 non-legendary
Oh my God.
salamander horror. Now, it does enter tapped with a stun counter on it, which flavorful and part of the cost, essentially. It's like it has to spend 1, except they can kill it while it's suspended. But get this. Chef's Knife, more like Chef's Kiss. During your turn, this creature has First Strike and Death Touch. So it's got 2 power, and then it attacks with First Strike and Death Touch, meaning they have to block it with 3 creatures or a First Strike creature in order to kill it with creatures. So basically, the 10 out of 10 flavor here is that Tonberry is a monster that you will kill with your party by just attacking it if you play against it in Final Fantasy. Fantasy, but it like casts Doom on you or just like waits or something and then has a knife that stabs you and
It
it can,
slowly walks up. It goes
slowly walks up,
and
right.
it walks up, and it walks up, and
Right.
it stabs you.
yeah, and if it gets to stab you and it doesn't miss, whoever it stabs dies. So 10 turn clock, 1 mana. Those are the things going for this thing, and then other situations where it can matter, like if you have cards that care about connecting, like say you're putting it in a deck with equipment like the swords. Now it's extra hard, like it has to abyss, and if they want to dodge those swords triggers, they have to block with something. And it's only 1 mana for a 2/1 if you do just need to block with it. You can't do that the turn you play it, so it's kind of a bad top deck. That's fair. But attacks for 2, First Strike, Death Touch.
All right, our final black card, Zodiark, Umbral God. For the low price of black, you get an indestructible legendary 5/5 God. When Zodiark enters, each player sacrifices half the non-god creatures they control of their choice, rounded down. And whenever a player sacrifices another creature, put a +1/+1 counter on Zodiark. Man, that is so many black pips. It's so hard to kill. I kind of wish this had trample, because it's going to get very big. It's not only going to kill creatures when it enters play, it's kind of going to abyss every time it attacks. Rounded down. So if you have 1 creature, you don't sack it. If you have 2 creatures, you have 1. If you have 3 creatures, you only sack 1. That's a little bit tough too, because it does mean it's not really a reliable removal thing. I don't know. I don't think you ever want to cast this, even if you're all in on mono black. Like monocolored decks typically get away with having the ability to play a lot of utility lands that are colorless. Ancient Tombs, also Wasteland, Strip Mine, Ghost Quarter, Urza Saga. And as a reanimator target, it's really awkward because it's not even a very efficient removal choice. I don't like Zodiark, is what I'm trying to say.
I play that land that you can pay 10 mana for and then search your library for gods from call time in Gladiator.
The
a fair
World
bit.
Tree.
Yeah.
The World Tree's actually kind of legit.
The World Tree. If you're like a World
You're
Tree,
getting all gods,
Scapeshift,
you don't have to
ramp
sack
deck or whatever, maybe there's like some line where like this is an important removal spell. I'm describing a commander scenario. This is one more mana than Phyrexian Obliterator and seems less scary. To me, I don't super love Zodiac either, although I love to be proven wrong about a big splashy black card. So if you've got a home for this, Wheeler or commenters, please.
All right. Let's move on to the red cards. Wheeler.
Kate Sith Fortune Teller from the Commander product. 3 and a red for a 3/3 legendary artifact Cat Moogle that has at the beginning of combat on your turn, you scry 1. Then exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. When you exile a card this way, target creature you control gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is that card's mana value. This is a card that I was initially kind of low on. I was expecting, like, a lot of the conversation was just like, you can cast it off Mishra's Workshop. And I'm like, you can cast a lot off Mishra's Workshop. Why do I want to cast that? And maybe that's still relevant if you're exiling like Mirror Enforcers and whatnot.
Sundering Titan.
I'd be curious to try this out in a Rakdos Delirium, like the Rakdos mid-range decks that tend to lean towards Delirium. It is an artifact creature. Single red pip makes it real easy. That deck typically uses its points on fast mana and also generates a lot of treasures. So getting up to 4 is not the most difficult thing in the world. That's a deck that obviously will care about this card being an artifact. Typically plays both Magus of the Moon and Blood Moon, which help it get around the fact that this can get Karakas. And then it also repeatedly exiles the cards off the top of its own deck to draw more cards. Like, that's its card engine.
Yeah.
And so getting another card that lets you be a card engine, buff your evasive or lifelinking threats or trampling with like Inti or whatever, that contributes to Delirium, and the big issues of this card are mostly dealt with by the other cards in your deck. It's pretty good to me.
All right. This is embarrassing because I can't remember the name. 4 mana, 3 and a red, 3/3 creature, enters play, has haste. Your creatures can't block that.
Headliner Scarlet.
So Headliner Scarlet. I was playing against Headliner Scarlet on Monday, and obviously it having haste, very similar bodies, very similar casting cost. Headliner Scarlet has haste and has an enter the battlefield thing. The thing that didn't kill me was the 3/3 that couldn't block because they played it on an NP board. The thing that killed me was the card advantage it generated.
Yeah.
Was the 3 extra cards because they didn't have a removal spell for a 3/3. And Headliner Scarlet exiles a card on upkeep. This exiles a card the turn it comes into play. And if you have a board as well, it's already immediately changing the combat math as well. I'm very high on this. It synergizes with your Lelia as well.
Yep.
Because Lelia cares every time you exile a card from your graveyard. I think this card is very, very good.
It looks like a hill giant that has a value engine, but it's important to know that the value engine comes with damage with haste. Right?
Yeah.
You play it pre-combat, then you immediately get to scry something and add damage to whichever creature is going to get through. Or just make your attack better. It's also worth noting that, again, the Grixis Teletubbies are the deck that's playing all of the affinity for Mirror Enforcers. Loves this card.
It is something that there's kind of a design trend in Magic where if it costs 3 or 4, typically it's a 3-drop, 4-drop issue with creatures, legendary creatures especially, where you look at this and you're like, oh, I could just bolt it. I could just get rid of it, right? Like it's
Boltrakis, is that what you're saying?
Boltrakis. Like I can deal with this card. And that's cool. But then if you don't, you lose the game. It's going to take over the game. Like that, the Rakdos deck is so funny because that deck only ever has 2 cards in hand at any given time, and then sees 5 cards each turn.
Right, cast 4 spells every turn.
It's going to run away with the game. And just immediately playing this, targeting your Inti, and then attack, like, oh, I revealed a 3-drop. And then you attack with your Inti for like a second time. And you're taking 7. right?
What?
I target my Death Greeter champion or whatever the double striker is, or my Fury or whatever. You just end the game. Or I exile my Pyrokinesis, give something +6, and then clear your board and then kill you. Yeah. Good card.
Nelly.
Let's talk about Gao, Feral Youth. 1 and a red for a 2/2 legendary human berserker with rage. Whenever Gao attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it. And at the beginning of each end step, if a card left your graveyard this turn, Gao deals damage equal to its power to each opponent.
Yeah. Also worth mentioning from the Commander product. If you're
Yes,
like, it's like
I
this is
missed
so
that.
cracked. That's
Thank
fine.
you. Yeah, no, this card's not in standard, not in the regular booster packs. Yeah, there's just a lot of great things going on here. It can't target other things, but it's like a head-on rate against Luminarch Aspirant being a 2/2. It is legendary and puts counters on itself. So Caracas and Bolt are really good against it, especially Caracas, just having to reset those +1/+1 counters. But it also just deals damage to your opponent's face every time you reanimate or delve. It doesn't come with a way to do that, to activate its own second ability, but you're in red and you're probably in Rakdos or Mardu. You'll figure it out.
This card's so good.
Yeah, this card's
it's
really
disgusting.
strong. Yeah, I'm actually replaying FF6 right now and just got to the vault last night.
So Naya +1/+1 is a pretty sick deck, and scavenging ooze, exile something from your own graveyard, and this has the ability just to get huge. I mean, that's kind of a cute application, but I think it's
But
bigger
you just
than
mentioned
even
another card that people play like in all their decks.
Yeah.
right?
I don't think you need to focus on any of the actual. Again, this is a
there
card
are
that is
combo
just
applications,
good
though.
when
Yeah.
you read it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's just so easy to remove.
like,
a card
no,
from
we
your
really have to find a home for this.
yeah, a deck that has red mana, like that's
Yeah.
is okay playing a 2-drop creature that can grow. Like, this card is, I mean, the best card in the set. Not to jump
Oh,
ahead.
interesting. This is your number one. You like
Is it
this?
better than Cloud?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah.
This card's so messy.
I mean, there's I think my second favorite is 2 cards away from now. So, but we'll get. May I move on?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So next up, we have the Opera Love Song. This is a 2-mana instant for 1 and a red. Choose one. Exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play those cards until your next end step, or 1 or 2 target creatures each get +2/+0 until end of turn. Very, very cool, very, very flexible card here. Specifically, the wording on until your next end step means if you do this on your opponent's end step, you get quite a lot of card advantage for stuff like that, or you just kill your opponent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it slices, it dices, not a lot to say, but if you like card advantage or pump spells, check it out. Blue-red prowess. Probably the
Red-green
easiest home.
prowess too. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Any of those mice decks love both sides, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, really strong.
Good card.
All right, Wheeler.
Raubon, Bull of Alamigo.
And you definitely said that correctly.
I believe so.
I
absolutely.
actually think, yeah.
Absolutely.
Final Fantasy 14 fans, correction.
1 and a red for a 2/2 legendary human warrior with ward, pay life equal to its power. Whenever Raubon attacks, attach up to 1 target equipment you control to target attacking creature. I like this card in exactly equipment with Colossus Hammer or Cauldron Complete or the new Colossus Hammer or, I don't know, Shadow Spear is also pretty good. It's just a 2-drop. It's cheap. It's really annoying for them to try to Caracas or even Bolt. They're going to take more damage. And it's nice that you don't necessarily have to attach the equipment to Raubon if you want. Just any attacking creature that you control. But it is usually to your benefit to put it on the guy that says, like putting Colossus Hammer onto this is just... They're dead. They're dead, right?
Yeah,
They're
they
dead.
can't imagine Caracasing that, right?
Yeah, they're dead.
Sadness.
Really good with a lot of creatures are good with Arena of Glory, but that's just a thing that the deck does, or just the equipment deck will have, Lava Spur boots or even Lightning Greaves sometimes,
yeah.
and suit this bad boy up, attack immediately, and I don't know, muck your opponent.
This is my second favorite card in the set after Cloud.
Yeah, not much to say. Play this with equipment cards.
The equipment legend that is a rare is good with equipment.
Wild. All right, Nelly.
Summon Brynhildr. I'm sure that's the way to say
you
it.
did
I'm
it.
100% sure. 1 and a red for a 2/1 enchantment creature Saga Knight. Did we talk about creature sagas
We haven't yet. No.
No,
because we hit the flip Jill earlier. But anyways, you're familiar with sagas.
Yep.
You're familiar with creatures.
I sure am.
In Final Fantasy X Magic the Gathering, you get sagas that are creatures. That's basically it. There are some other complications. On the bottom of the card, because it's a split frame card, you see the creature's abilities. This one doesn't have any. It just has flavor text, which is rad. But sometimes it'll say like flying or menace or when this enters gain 3 life or whatever underneath where it says enchantment creature Sagonite, but above where it says 2/1. And then they follow the rules for sagas. So when it enters, you put the first lore counter on and do the first chapter ability. In your pre-combat main phase, you put a lore counter on your sagas, you do their abilities, and then you sacrifice them once their last chapter ability has resolved. Okay. Moving on to Brynhildr itself. It's a 2/1 for 2, not legendary, which is neat because obviously this represents a character, but you can have multiple of the same saga in play in case you're cloning or whatever. Chain. Exile the top card of your library. During any turn you put a lore counter on this saga, you may play that card. Okay, so while this is in play on your own turns, including the turn that this left the battlefield, you can play the exiled card. So that's the first chapter ability. The second 2 chapter abilities, and there are 3 total, are the same, and it's Gestalt mode. When you next cast a creature spell this turn, it gains haste until end of turn. Okay, so what is this card? Reminding you that it's an enchantment saga. It's a 2/1 enchantment creature that is going to get to attack once. Okay? You play it. It's a 2/1 with summoning sickness. You exile a card that you're hopefully going to cast within the next 2 turns. And then on the next turn, you untap with it. It can attack. And also your other creatures you cast this turn have haste. And then on the third turn, you draw your card. And then in your pre-combat main phase, you're going to give your other creature spells this turn haste and then sacrifice it. Okay, so it attacks once, unless you can haste it or move counters around or whatever you do with sagas, but it does replace itself and give other creatures haste. So,
that's super important to point out, actually. The math of like how many times you get
Yes.
hit with it is like that's a long walk to get to, but very relevant.
Yeah, because we're doing set review here, so like you'll see Serge and I on a Judge podcast as well, or a Judge video, where we explain what the card does, but we don't go into the nitty-gritty of like how do you evaluate saga creatures. And it's like you look at the chapter abilities on the left, and then you take off the top one and the middle one and count how many are in the middle, and that's how many times the creature gets to attack, unless you do something. Or it just has haste. One of them probably has haste.
There's a reason why there's only one of these.
Yeah,
they're very narrow.
Yeah, you want to think of them as sagas in bold print and then creatures in small print.
Yeah.
And buffing your goif in small print.
Yeah.
Sure, it's great for delirium. Yeah,
That's the part that's pretty dope, is that like it just gives you another card type for your FOMO or your Unholy Heat or your goifs.
Yeah, I mean,
their goifs.
I see this in a couple of okay spots, right? One okay spot is aggressive red decks. Giving your other creatures haste is great, and then hopefully it exiles a bolt or a mountain that you're going to figure out what to do with real quick. And then the other spot is like
Delirium.
Yeah, delirium, or it's just like if you're like digging around for, I could maybe see it honestly in like a mono red stacks kind of like wildfire situation. If you're looking for an Elvish Visionary, it is also kind of that, right? Like if your deck can't reliably cast any of its cards in the first 4 turns, maybe this is awkward, but it does like play Spirited Companion and then chump block, right? Like
Sure.
it can be a like replace itself blocker if you're trying to build up to a big mana situation.
Can I talk really quickly about the rules change with sagas?
Please.
This is
Thank
relevant to Canlander players. So previously, when a saga lost all abilities, more specifically, if you have a Blood Moon and you have an Urza saga, a saga that lost all abilities would die because it would have more chapter counters on it than it had lore abilities. With Final Fantasy, they're changing those rules. That it just pauses. Did you know about this?
No.
Yeah, it just pauses now. So what happens is it'll be a saga night because it's so basically that rules interaction was very unintuitive, and it's so much easier for creatures to lose abilities than it was for other enchantments to lose abilities. Basically, I think the only interaction was really Urza Saga and Blood Moon. And so
that was the most common one. Certainly for our format, but for most of the game, I think.
So what happens now, the TLDR is it won't have any chapters abilities. You won't sacrifice it. And when it comes time to put a saga counter on it or chapter counter on it, you just won't. Okay. So it pauses so long as that happens.
So this is much more intuitive. And Wizards didn't say this when they announced the change, but they probably want to apologize to everyone who learned how Blood Moon and Urza Saga interact.
Yeah.
Because we know that was work for you. It was work for me. I'm sure it was work for you, the players, to figure out why, or try to remember that if I have an Urza Saga and my opponent plays a Blood Moon, I just have to sacrifice my Urza Saga immediately. Yeah. But now you don't.
And
you
now,
just have a mountain.
If you're playing Blood Moon, if you're playing like a blue tempo deck, and you were playing Blood Moon or whatever the blue Blood Moon Magus creature is called,
the Modern Horizons 3 Merfolk.
Yeah. Harvester of the Moon,
Harbinger of the Seas.
Harbinger of the Seas. It's no longer a nombo to play your own Urza Saga with it, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, you can put your Urza Saga in your Blood Moon decks now.
Finally, we figured out a way to make Urza Saga good.
I thought that was cool.
Okay, so a couple applications for Brynhilder, maybe 3. Anyone else want to say anything else about this card in particular?
I'm not that excited about it. It's neat.
It's straightforward, and it replaces all this only 2 mana.
Yeah. All right, we have Vaughn. I actually played a lot of Final Fantasy 12. I think it's Vaughn. Street Thief, 3 mana, 2/2 legendary creature, human scout. Whenever one or more scout, pirate, and or rogues you control deal combat damage to a player, exile the top card of that player's library. You may cast it. If you don't, create a treasure token. Whenever you cast a spell you don't own, put a +1/+1 counter on each scout, pirate, and rogue that you control. Look, they tried to fix Ragavan.
It's like they fit more Ragavans into Ragavan.
Yeah. It's you don't get a treasure token and to cast it. It's one or the other. And it also synergizes with your Ragavan. It's a monkey pirate, I believe.
Should be. Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. I don't know. This is fun. It does fit into that wheelhouse of red getting card advantage through exile and making treasures, so it very much fits the color identity. It does try and open up some more typal strategies, getting value through scouts, pirates, and or rogues. I did hear someone floating trying to make a Pirates Matter deck.
Okay, well, I mean, Pirates has technically won a Monday night tournament.
Yeah.
But I think more accurately, it is Jason Jobin has won a Monday night tournament.
Right?
Which is infinitely... I mean, kudos to him, but also less exciting because it's like, well, duh.
Yeah, you're like one of the best players in the community.
Just give Jason any deck with Moxen, and he's going to draw them, and you're going to lose.
Yeah. I do think this card has enough upside to make it interesting and to at least make it worth playing, because, again, it is card advantage and it is mana advantage, which is what Exile in Treasures does. It is extremely Bolt Rakkus-able, but it is also a human. So, play around with it. If you are the type of person who's excited by this, you probably already know where you want to play it.
I want to caution people against playing it unless you are that person. Like if you came into this
it's got
podcast,
a lot of downside.
If you came into this podcast already having seen Vaughn Street Thief and you've like built a deck or you've like done your check of your like existing deck, like how many of them are Scouts, Pirates, and Rogues, like, and you've decided that this will have like an X percentage chance to be like live when you cast it or whatever. Great, but otherwise, like it doesn't have haste, it doesn't have 4 toughness.
No.
If it doesn't have hexproof,
if you really like Captain Lannery Storm, this card is for you. All right, and Wheeler, take us home. Last card of the day.
Yuffie Materia Hunter. 2 in a red for a 3/3 legendary human ninja with ninjutsu for 1 in a red. When Yuffie enters, gain control of target non-creature artifact for as long as you control Yuffie. Then you may attach an equipment you control to Yuffie. Yeah, that's great. Ninjutsu in red. First time we've really had it. Nobody expects it. More so than other ninjas.
Even more so than the green ninja.
Well, you're just going to get so many points from people being like, okay, these are my blocks before damage. I'm going to kill that. And you're like, well,
I've got
an uncounterable 3/3 that is going to potentially steal your mocks or, your skull clamp or your equipment or your whatever. It is unfortunate that you need to, I guess it does work if you only have your own equipment. I guess now that I'm reading it, you just gain control of your own Colossus Hammer.
Yep.
For as long as you control Yuffie, and then you can attach that Colossus Hammer
to the unblocked
Yuffie.
threat, right?
What? Yeah, exactly.
No, you can. Sure, if you don't have something to steal, but you can steal something and then also.
Yes, but what I was saying is that I was reading this as like, if they don't have something for me to steal, this ability doesn't go on the stack. There's no legal target for it. So I wouldn't get the free equip attack.
Right.
But because you can target your own things, doesn't matter. I just have this unblockable 3/3 that I've now put my Colossus Hammer on. And you are now taking 13. I don't think you even need Colossus Hammer. I imagine this card will be totally fine in aggressive red decks, especially ones like, medium red or red deck wins, or like Is It.
Check out this Scroll Blitz curve. Forest, Birds of Paradise, Red Mox, Colossus Hammer.
Oh, finally.
Turn 2, I didn't even make my land drop. I'm just attacking with my bird and ninjutsuing my Yuffie for 13.
Damn.
I mean, I remember back in the day of turn 1 bird, turn 2 attack, and then ninja the depowers it.
Sure,
yeah. To hell with
Look how far we've come.
I'm not casting my troll aesthetic. I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's. I think it's pretty good.
This is embarrassing again. This is a staple of like mono black and artifacts. What is the name of the artifact that for black lets you equip it at instant speed?
Oh,
cranial plating?
Cranial plating.
Yeah.
So cranial plating was sort of a staple of modern Affinity for a very long time. And the reason that deck was, the reason the deck was dangerous, it was numerous, right? It was very explosive, it was very fast. But cranial plating made combat math a nightmare. Because if you didn't have exactly the number of blockers for the number of creatures that were attacking, you were going to take 1 million damage. And this is going to seem very janky, but effects like Leonin Shikari, which is a white creature that lets you equip at instant speed, really opens up that flexibility a lot and makes it feel less like a linear deck where you're just swinging sideways and more where it's like it gives you a lot of Gotham potential, which in a format as tight and as competitive as Highlander can really be the difference between winning and losing tournaments. So like this is extra exciting to me for that potential.
Yeah, the Boris equipment deck is one of those lists where, or even other versions of it, like with Colossus Hammer.
Yep.
I am convinced that you have to be hammer timing for these equipment decks, and especially after this set. It plays out kind of like the way, I'm going to mention another boomer modern deck, but like Splinter Twin.
Sure.
Where like, often you will chip them down to like 10 or whatever, and then you will twin combo.
Sure.
Right? And that was how our Birthing Pod twin decks would also play out. You would be annoying enough until they're like, I got to deal with your board. And they're like, okay, now I'm going to make infinite Pestermites and attack you. Oh, you're at 5. But like the infinite just let me push through. And so for the equipment deck, if you're just annoying and run them out of resources and you're like, oh, okay, well, now I'm attacking. You don't have the answer. Here's my Yuffie for the Colossus Hammer. Here's my stolen uniform. Here's my Rao Bon, equipping the hammer or whatever, which is an interesting play pattern. You can be just a annoying mid-range deck that gets to tutor a bunch until you're the combo deck.
The past tense for me for that would be Embercleave as another example.
Yeah.
So like, okay, you don't have anything now? Well, then you're just dead.
Great. Yeah, I'm going to cleave you and you're out of the game.
Yeah, there's a reason that equip costs or the equip ability only works at sorcery, right? They design these cards around letting your opponent know how you're attacking, so that's why all these cards we've mentioned are so great.
And then you cheat.
and honestly, we mentioned I think we mentioned almost every single card that can do an equip at instant speed, like all the relevant ones, and like now there's one more. So the fact that the list with this set has just gotten up to like 7 or 8 and from 3 is a big deal.
So many of them are 2 mana or less, and this one is 2 mana uncounterable.
Yeah.
So there's actually a 1 mana white common we didn't talk about that also lets you do this. It's a 4 mana 2/2. On ETB, you draw a card.
Oh, yeah.
And on attack, you can pay 1 mana if you do equip any equipment for 1.
I thought about adding this card to the spreadsheet, but then for the reasons that Nelson mentioned, I was like, wait a minute, we already have 7 of this effect at 2
But
mana.
there's a lot of redundancy now. It's kind of wild.
The set might have doubled up the number of ways that you can cheat an
Yeah.
equipment onto something during combat.
I'm so excited to put Core Outfitter on the bench. Like it has not been doing something. It's not been doing its
Core Outfitter upgrading to Raban is
This is something we typically talk about in the second episode, but I think one of the biggest winners in this set is the equipment deck.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, and they're not shocking anybody there, right? All right, well, let's wrap up episode 1 here. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Hope you really enjoyed it. If there's any cards you think we missed, and again, we know there was a lot we didn't talk about here, let us know in the comments down below. A reminder that everything we do is brought to you by you with the support of the Patreon over at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. And reminder, brand new sponsor to this show, longtime sponsor of other Magic content here over at Loading Ready Run, is Card Kingdom. cardkingdom.com/LRR. It's an affiliate code that lets them know that we sent you. If there's any singles that you're excited about and you want to order, check out their store. I've been Serge, been joined by the wonderful Nelly.
Boo boo doo boo doo boo doo boo. I was Nelly. Boo 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 boo.
We got a Wheeler.
I now have 0 drinks.
Oh, no. And shout out to Paul on tech.
Hello.
Thank you for watching, and we will see you with part 2. Bye-bye.